What a weekend at Texas Motor Speedway for Apollo NASCAR. I had a great time out there at the track covering the event. It was great to be live in person at the races. Anytime you get out to the track, it's just a different feel than watching the race on television and going back and recapping it. But with us being out at the track, this is going to be a little bit of a longer post race wrap up than usual. We had Truck Series action, Xfinity Series action, and Cup Series action out on the track. We're going to talk about all three series, as well as some other news coming out of this week. But we'll start off with the Truck Series, the SpeedyCash.com 250. Corey Heim ends up in victory lane. But one of the biggest stories, I think, from this race was the infield grass. We had a huge rainstorm blow through North Texas that really basically flooded the place, and that infield grass just got extremely soggy. We had Xfinity Series qualifying in practice and Truck Series qualifying in practice rained out, so that affected the drivers as well. Didn't know what to expect out there on the track, but one of the biggest stories was that infield grass that just destroyed trucks throughout this race. The first victim of it was Gio driving through the quad oval and peeks out from behind a truck. And obviously, because of the limited sight lines on those trucks, it's kind of hard to tell where the grass is at any given moment. Really unfortunate for Gio. I mean, he hit it, and that as soon as that truck dug into that grass, it launched the truck airborne. Basically, he's a victim of physics at that point, and sends that 17 truck into the outside wall, collects some others. Really hard hits for everybody involved in that accident. Lane Riggs later on in the race would also fall victim to the grass, and then on a late race restart, it was Matt Mills who got some of the grass and had issues there. So really, really unfortunate. You have to wonder, right, if Texas is going to go the way of like Charlotte, who has implemented turf there just to keep those trucks from digging into the grass. We've seen those the grass cause pretty significant incidents at other tracks, right? We saw Chris Buescher flip at Charlotte Motor Speedway back in the day, part of the reason that the turf is there now. We saw Tyler Reddick last year in this 45 car catch the grass and end up flipping. And here at Texas, we've seen it I believe it was Timothy Peters in a race here at Texas Motor Speedway in the Truck Series caught the grass and ended up flipping. So you have to wonder I love the way the grass looks. I love the aesthetics of it, but you have to wonder if may not be time to go to a little bit safer infield decoration, I guess we'll call that. But again, Corey Heim dominant on the day, just really, really fast in that 11 truck all year. He's had some things go wrong for him in past races, but able to capitalize this race. There was an interesting moment post-race. Ben Rhodes was not happy with Corey Heim kind of forcing him up out of the groove. In that scenario, I don't necessarily blame Ben Rhodes for being upset. You want to win every race that you can. But we've seen much more aggressive, much more dangerous moves. I will say at Texas, with how slick it is once you get outside of the groove, I can definitely understand some of the frustration. But Corey Heim talked about it in his post-race presser. He didn't feel like anything there was too aggressive. Like it's not like what we saw at Martinsville in the Xfinity Series a few weeks back. But I am interested to see Corey Heim as he makes his way up the NASCAR ladder. Really glad that he's going to get to run in the Cup Series next week at Kansas. He'll be in the 67 entry for 2311 Racing. It feels like just a matter of time before he gets a full-time Cup ride, and I hope it's a good one. I hope it's top-tier equipment, because I think Heim is one of the best prospects we have across the NASCAR spectrum right now. Moving on from the SpeedyCash.com 250 to Saturday's Xfinity race, the Andy's Frozen Custard 300. Great weather for Saturday. Obviously, we had that storm on Friday, and qualifying and practice rained out, but the weather could not have been better for Saturday. Just fantastic day for racing. The story of the day was Justin Allgaier dominating the early stages of the race, the struggles to pass at a track in Texas Motor Speedway where we know it is difficult to pass. And then Kyle Larson subbing for Connor Zilisch in the 88. Obviously, Zilisch last week at Talladega involved in an accident that resulted in some lower back pain. And from everything that Zilish said, we don't speculate on injuries in sports, but from everything Zilish said, he said it was pretty minor. Feels like this is more of a precautionary measure with Xfinity Series being off the next few weeks to kind of get him right going into the hard summer months. There will be some challenging tracks on the schedule. You get some road courses that are extremely physical. So it definitely makes a lot of sense in my mind to have had Kyle Larson sub in for him. Some people were upset at NASCAR going ahead and granting the waiver. But I think in this scenario where there's an injury, I don't think it makes sense to penalize a driver for taking a moment to get right, because you would rather have somebody get healthy and be able to race the rest of the season than rush back from injury. We talk about this in sports all the time. When you rush back from injury, you end up making everything worse. So kudos to JRM for making that call. Kudos to NASCAR for allowing it. Excited to see Connor Zilish when he gets back after the Xfinity Series break. But yeah, the race was Justin Allgaier dominating most of it. Austin Hill did lead a little bit. Hill started with great track position just because qualifying was rained out. Obviously, he had the win last week at Talladega. But Allgaier felt like he had probably the best car up at the front. Meanwhile, Kyle Larson is just carving his way through the field in that 88 car. It's what you expect whenever Larson runs in a lower series. I mean, he talked about it on the podcast a few weeks back, right? He wants to go out there and embarrass these guys in the Xfinity Series. This was more of a challenge than Bristol for Larson, certainly. But it did feel like the 88 was the best car on the day. One of the biggest stories of the day, though, was Justin Allgaier getting involved in an accident with Chris Wright. Chris Wright was a lap car in the 5 car. Just not a good look for Wright. Allgaier obviously very frustrated. So to give you an idea of what happened here, Chris Wright obviously off the pace. Justin Allgaier coming up behind him. As a lap car, you have a responsibility to pick a line and hold it. And in this scenario, Chris Wright was kind of switching lanes, top, bottom. So Allgaier, coming at a much higher rate of speed, doesn't know exactly which way to go. On Wright's radio communication, it sounded like he was hearing from the spotter, he's coming high, he's coming low. So he's trying to change as well. The thing is, and I believe this was Landon Castle maybe that commented on it on Twitter. You really need to hold a line, pick a line, and make the faster car just commit to a line wherever you want them to pass you, whether that's passing you on the outside, whether it's passing you on the inside. Just commit to a line, hold it, and let them go by. It's obviously different if you're, trying to stay on the lead lap, but in this case, Chris Wright was not trying to stay on the lead lap. Justin Allgaier was running, I believe, second at the time, as Larson had taken over the lead during green flag stops in the final stage. But either way, Allgaier runs into the back of that 5 car, and it ends his day. And it's just a real shame to have one of the best cars on the day, and probably the only guy who could challenge Larson up front, taken out of the race. Ultimately, though, Kyle Larson does win this race. We had another green-white checkered, so 2 for 2 ahead of the Cup race with green-white checkers, and it was Kyle Larson pulling away and securing another win for JRM in the Xfinity Series. From there, we move on to the Wurth 400, the main event of the weekend. And there was a lot of worries about how this race was going to go. I'm not going to tell you that it was the best race I've ever seen, but I did, in my opinion, think it was a good race from Texas Motor Speedway. And part of that is obviously a little bit of bias being based out of Texas. But part of it is having lowered expectations for what this track could produce. Going into the weekend, all we could talk about was how difficult it is to pass here and how really it feels like there's only one lane around the track. Kyle Larson even talked about it in his interview after the Xfinity race. He mentioned that turns 3 and 4, there's bumps in there that we'll talk about later on that really prevent the Cup cars from running up there as much. And then turns 1 and 2, it was just, you run the bottom. That was the case for a large percentage of the race, but I felt like towards the end, And Paul Wolf and Joey Logano in their post-race pressers also kind of echoed this, that the track widened out a little bit. I still think we're a long way from being from Texas being one of the better mile-and-a-half tracks for producing great racing, but I didn't think the racing was terrible. Let's go ahead and dive into the race, though. Did not take long for action to break out on track. Noah Gragson spins early on the outside of Daniel Suarez. Denny Hamlin had an early issue. First of all, Denny Hamlin threw the horns down in post-race or pre-race introductions at Texas Motor Speedway. Love that as an Aggie. Unfortunately, didn't work out for Hamlin as he blew up early in stage one. Really, really scary with the way the flames are coming out of that car, but Hamlin was able to hop out relatively quickly. You always want to see the drivers get out in a expeditious manner when flames break out like that. So glad to see Hamlin get out of the car. We finished stage one under caution because of Hamlin. Just took too long to get the oil cleaned up off the track. You don't want to go back to green with what we saw as the issues. When a track is slick because oil laid down or water or whatever it may be on the surface, you go back green too early and it just compounds the issues. Stage two started. Josh Berry leading the race. Chase Briscoe, again, we talked about those bumps. Chase Briscoe got on those bumps and ends up spinning out. And basically what happens is these next-gen cars are so tight to the track, I think with the underbody as well, they just don't react to those bumps well. So it seemed like anytime somebody ran over those bumps, and we'll talk about it again here, is they just kind of lose their car. And, it's not like a opportunity to save it. I mean, it snaps around on them very quickly. And then, we go back green. Josh Berry is controlling it and going around lap cars, those same bumps, right? He gets on the outside in 3 and 4, just snaps loose over the bumps, loses control, slams the outside wall, and ends the day for the 21. It was really unfortunate. That team, they won earlier this year at Las Vegas on a mile and a half. Felt like they had some great speed again in the 21 for Wood Brothers. But, that's just kind of the nature of the beast at this track. Drivers have to kind of pick and choose when they're going to go to the outside here, and they have to be absolutely perfect through those corners. If you hit those bumps wrong at all, I mean, it ends your day. And it's a real shame again for the 21, but we move forward. Kyle Larson takes the lead on the ensuing restart. The 5-car really good out front. Tyler Reddick closed on him, but this is where the passing at Texas kind of came into play. It was just so difficult to get around whoever was leading the race at a given point because of the way these next-gen cars are, the difficulty of Texas itself in passing, and then just the ability to aero block for the leader. I think you saw guys be able to pass deeper in the field because the air isn't as much of an advantage, right? Like the leader having that clean air is a huge advantage. The further back you get in the pack, everybody's experiencing dirty air. So if the cars are equal, you can do things as a driver to kind of minimize that advantage of air. But when somebody's out front, I think the air is just such a big difference maker that you can't really pass. And we saw throughout the day that whoever was leading was really able to control the race. Now, is that a Texas Motor Speedway problem, or is it more of a next-gen problem? I still think that, right, Texas not where it needs to be as a track, but I do think that maybe there's something more to this next-gen car and the ability to aero block as a leader that we need to look into more. And I'm not saying anything that hasn't already been said, since the advent of this car. It's just super tough to pass anywhere you go. And Texas Motor Speedway being the track that it is, super tough to pass at. Not really surprising to see the issues that we saw anytime the leader, controlled the race. Chris Buescher had some issues, the hometown kid in stage 2. has a flat tire, loses the carcass of the tire on the track. That brings out a caution to once again end stage 2. Kyle Larson wins stage 2. It felt like the 5 was headed for a repeat, but the final stage was about as chaotic as it gets. We had like a version of the big one on the backstretch. Bubba Wallace spun. Dinger, Bowman, Fincham, a lot of guys involved in this one. Logano was right there behind Wallace when he spun. Logano very lucky to get away with light damage to that car. One of the interesting things that we saw on pit road after this incident, William Byron gets out front. He's leading the race, but on pit road, he had contact with Cole Custer, and I think that really damaged the 24 car to the point that the aerodynamics of it prevented him from pulling away like some of the other leaders had and being able to control the race. Because on the ensuing restart, Kyle Larson was able to get past Byron pretty quickly. Again, Ryan Blaney closes on the 5. Felt like the 12 car was better than the 5, but because it's so difficult to pass the leader at Texas Motor Speedway, Blaney's never able to work around him. We did get some interesting moments in the end. Again, more chaos at Texas Motor Speedway just because of how slick this track is. Just a flurry of cautions. Jesse Love spins. Then on the ensuing restart, Kyle Busch gets over the bumps. He spins. Then we had another caution with Carson Hocevar squeezing up into Ryan Preece. Preece not happy at all in the garage after the race. Have a feeling that he's just kind of Hocevar's just kind of added another name to the list of people who are not thrilled with the way that he races. And we'll see, if that gets adjusted or not. Hocevar's an aggressive driver. It feels a lot like Ross Chastain not too long ago, whenever Chastain had Hamlin and Chase Elliott both mad at him. It feels like Hocevar is probably going to end up in a similar situation. More cautions, but we did see Michael McDowell get out front during all of this thanks to taking 2 tires on a pit stop, and he's able to kind of claim the lead, which was wild to see given how old his left side tires were. Joey Logano kind of addressed this in the race. That clean air again at Texas is such an advantage that's what made the strategy call look so good, along with all those restarts. But yeah, we had another incident. Brad Keselowski spinning, Austin Cindric, Cole Custer, Kyle Busch, Ty Dillon involved. And then we go back green and very quickly saw another caution. Tyler Reddick spun off the front bumper of Daniel Suarez. Then we get another restart, and this time Joey Logano is able to pass Michael McDowell for the lead. Michael McDowell would end up hitting the wall shortly afterward as Ryan Blaney passes him. Blaney just kind of, the wake behind these cars just really shoved Michael McDowell up into the wall. Heartbreaking day for the 71, who's running so well. Obviously, Spire Motorsports, had high hopes given Carson Hocevar starting on the pole. Michael McDowell starting well up in the field, and both of those cars end up with severe damage on the day. Then we go back to the green-white checkered, and Joey Logano's able to really get the lead, pull away from Ryan Blaney, and Logano wins, which, he talked about it in the post-race. Really big time for this team to get the win after the penalty that they suffered at Talladega. Bouncing back from that adversity to come out and claim a victory, punch your playoff ticket, huge for this. And this is the second straight win for Penske. And again, just a great weekend out at the track. I thought this race was great. Great's probably an overstatement. I would say this was a good race. Again, a great race by recent Texas standards since the repave in 2017. We'll see, what they do with this track moving forward. Again, Logano and Paul Wolfe both said that this track felt like it widened out. I think some other drivers would probably disagree. I, again, also wonder how much the next gen car, the Gen 7 car, plays a role into the style of racing that we're seeing at Texas. And if we might not see some improvement in the racing with some changes in the package that we have. But moving on from that, we do have some NASCAR news announced this week. I believe is Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic, letting us know that championship races moving forward, it's going to be a rotation. NASCAR's heading back to Homestead in 2026. Really excited to see that. That track has produced some incredible action in the next gen car. The one request that I have is that we don't see super speedways host. Like I know how important Daytona and Talladega are to NASCAR. I don't want to see a championship decided at one of those tracks. Like there's just way too much chaos, way too much, uh, margin for error that goes on at those tracks that it doesn't make any sense for me to have those tracks host the final race in this current format. Maybe you can get away with it, right? If it's the old point system, no chase, no playoffs, none of that. If it's just flat out run, maybe then one of those tracks can host a season finale. But with what we have now, I think the unpredictable nature of auto racing at a super speedway is just, it's too much for deciding a NASCAR championship. But great again. Thank you all for all the support of the NASCAR content over the past few days. Really was great to get out there to the track. We'll have a lot more with Apollo, your source for NASCAR news in the Bayou City. Stay tuned as we move forward. Next weekend at Kansas, obviously, we won't be there, but we'll be watching and have updates throughout the race. Stay locked in, and we appreciate you.